I'm going to show you how to paint realistic eyes on this black leopard. As usual, when I paint with acrylics, I've already painted my background before I start on the subject. This allows me to get my background really smooth without worrying about the dry time or accidentally getting paint marks on the subject because the subject hasn't been painted. I then drew everything out with a white charcoal pencil. Now, I do want to point out this is slightly skewed just because of the camera angle. But my first tip is make sure that your drawing is accurate. It doesn't matter how great you shade things. It doesn't matter how perfect your blending and detail is. If your line drawing is not accurate in the first place, it's not going to get better once you start adding paint. So make sure you've got that accurate drawing first. I really like the white charcoal pencil because it allows you to very easily erase any mistakes. If you use a regular graphite pencil, those don't erase so well and you can't see them on top of paint very well anyway. Because I've got that darker background, I want to go ahead and get my light colors in first. I've started with unbleached titanium white and I'm adding some yellow oxide right on top of that. I'm using a smaller filbert brush for this. Those bristles are slightly rounded and I prefer this to the flat brushes because flat brushes have harsher, that straight line when you start and stop a brush stroke, where it's much easier to get a softer stroke with the filbert. All of the techniques that I'm sharing with you today, these can be applied to any animal's eye. You're just going to adjust where the shadow is. Some animals that aren't going to have the shadow we'll be doing later under that upper lid, like owls. Although sometimes owls. So there's no hard rule there. I've layered in a little bit of green, and this paint is all still wet as I layer this, so that one color blends nicely to the other. More of the unbleached titanium white. Nothing needs to be perfect here. Now I'm going to take a second brush. This is just any brush that's clean and dry, and I'm just going to smudge this lighter area I just added in up into the green. I'm going to add a little bit of a purple color to get a shadow right under that upper eyelid. And this will make a huge difference in your work. This will take the animal's eye from looking like it's staring at you, like it had way too much coffee, to having that much softer look. So his eyes don't look like they're bugging out of his head. And I'm going to build this up slowly. It is not going to look pretty at first. I'm going to go ahead and add where the highlight is going to go. Now, at this point, I'm really just mapping things out. Nothing is where it's going to stay. This just starts giving me an idea of where shadows and highlights are going to go. I'm using this darker plum color to start bringing in a little bit more detailing on that eye. Now, that poof that you just saw, that was me taking a fine mist sprayer to lightly mist the canvas, and that keeps this whole area wet. So when I come and smudge this down, look how these colors just give that soft wet into wet look. That will help me to avoid that kind of beginner look of a dry brush. And if you're thinking, I thought dry brushing was great and it looked amazing. Dry brushing is something that we're taught as beginners, and it's fine, but if you want to start getting that wet into wet look, that more realistic smooth look, we want to keep the paint a little bit more wet, and that's where that fine mist sprayer comes in. I've got a video showing you how to use it to make your paints look amazing. I'll have a card pop up. Check that out. That will help you so much. But that fine mist sprayer, just a light mist, and I can keep that paint wet for as long as I want to get really nice smooth blending. It makes everything so easy. If you struggle with your acrylic paints drying too fast, you need to pick one of those up. After adding a little bit more detailing around the eyes with the plum, I'm going to go ahead and take this green paint and tint the color just a little bit. Now, where I'm painting, that area has been dried already. So what I'm doing is glazing the color. If what was under it, that cream color, was not dry, this could lift some of those previous layers, which is not cute. Make sure when you do glazing where you're just tinting the color like this, that previous layer has got to be dry all the way. I'm just holding that same small filbert to the side so I can get smaller detail for some of the little lines around the eye here. And I took a second brush and started dabbing it just to soften that up. You can also use a round or a liner brush if that's easier for you. I'm going to take a bit of red oxide and just tint the edges here. So this is thinned with a bit of water. And I take a second brush and let's just smudge that out. A little bit more. Just watch how building these layers, and all of these layers are fairly translucent. This is going to help me to get more depth in the eye. It doesn't look flat. It looks like you're looking into an actual eye when I'm done with this. And it's because of all of these translucent layers building up. It's one of the reasons that I like Liquitex Basics so much. They are naturally a little bit more translucent than some of like the heavy body or the soft body paints, so they work perfect for this technique. Next, I've added more black to my plum color, so it's really dark now, and I've defined the pupils more. I'm going to get more of the shadowing right under that upper lid. Now, this is a big tip. This will make such a difference in your work when you're doing the highlights on the eyes. Don't just add white. Here, I'm using ultramarine blue and white. So this is going to be my base layer of the shine. The other thing is look at the shine, how it curves. It's not just a dot. Sometimes there will be a dot on the highlight, but in almost every case, even if my reference photo just shows a dot for the highlight, round it off. Look at adding these little details, how that will start to make the eye look curved. So it's not just a flat surface anymore. And it's a slight curve. I mean, I'm not making a full like sad face. It's just a little bit of a curve and it rounds that eye off. Once I get that blue in, I can come on top with a titanium white highlight to really make it look shiny. Make sure a good amount of that blue is showing through around the edges. It makes the eye look so much more glassy. Make sure that you've subscribed because next week I'm going to show you how to paint black fur. It's so easy to make it look really realistic. This is going to help whether you're painting black cats, black dogs, black leopards, anything like that. You will be able to apply those techniques. Or if you want to follow along now with the over 3-hour version of this lesson, head over to patreon.com/Lachri, where for as little as $4 a month, you get access to over 300 of my longer lessons. If you can't think of a project to paint, I certainly have you covered over there. Otherwise, I will see you here next week where we will paint all of that fur. Look how shiny it looks.
Hey, you. Yes, you. I see all your unused art supplies over there. Oh my God, those brushes aren't even opened yet. Tragic. You keep buying new fancy materials, but you don't use them because you don't want to waste them. Stop making your art supplies sad. Sign up for art lessons for as little as $4 a month. There are over 300 painting and drawing lessons available when you sign up and new ones every week. Patreon.com/Lachri.